Okay guys, we're back again, and I'm trying the highest camera angle over the shoulder that I can manage while still getting something. I'm not sure honestly how to set this up if I can't do it from there, so maybe I can get some kind of clip thing and put it here or something. I'm open to suggestions if you guys have any suggestions out there. Anyway, all right, so today I got my Asaro head. This is again my little cheat sheet thing right here. I do admit that I have already spent some time today working both from memory and a little bit from the reference of the Asaro head. So I did do some ink sketches earlier. Just show that briefly. Just trying to get my pen moving. I'll do a video on ink sketching with the Micron as a 0.005 micron, this super small. Same warm-up drills that I went over in the last video, so just getting my hand moving, and then did this little perspective grid drill. So the reason why I'm doing this again is because I wanted to catch the angles of this better than what I did here if I can. If I could do another quick sketch of this down here, maybe I'll try to imagine this head on all these angles. Let me see, lay it out like this. So going to the side like this. So I do this drill all the time, this perspective of the head drill. I do have Bridgman right here. He breaks things down in his book to being below the head, being above the head, and using these basic angles. I did not study this from Bridgman. I did study his torso anatomy, and under Jeff Watts, doing Jeff Watts's torso anatomy course. But Bridgman seems to have a lot of the same concepts that I'm familiar with, which is like, it involves mostly catching the planes of the head, the angles of the planes of the head. So I think maybe trying to do this one more time in thumbnail size, since I did it so big here, might be fun. That is a thing. Trying things at different sizes seems to kind of get the idea of what the composition of the whole thing can look like, and then what the composition of the pieces of the whole thing. So you have a macro perspective and a micro perspective on the same subject. And this angle is kind of fitting of this 3/4 up from underneath angle. So I'm gonna try to draw this mustache man from a few different angles, I think. I think that should be fun. I'm starting with the Houston sailboat on anything that's a profile. If you haven't seen Steve's free video online on how to do the Houston head as a start, like the gesture, it's an awesome concept. Highly recommend checking out all of what Steve posts for such little cost online other than time most of the time. Really amazing stuff from him. So I'm going through the same motion that I just did already here. This is again one of those drills that I like to do, warming up, that gets my mind in the flow of how do I draw stuff? What is the stuff that I'm drawing, and how do I draw it? So again, I'm drawing really light with the charcoal. If I'm drawing with a fine liner, I'm still being really, really light, but I know that anything that I put down can't come back up. So I'm thinking about it a little bit differently than how I would do this, which could be a benefit, could be a detriment, who knows? I think there's a lot of stuff that we have to do to get really good. And I also think that a lot of this is a ball of knots. So you're gonna see me kind of jump around with concepts and take a lot of shortcuts probably that, maybe that'll cost me in the long run. We'll see. we'll see. So I'm on this is a 3/4 angle, right? Basic head. I'm probably not gonna go into too much of the details on this guy because I don't have, you know, the front shot of this statue. But I am gonna draw the abstraction again because why not? I need the practice, I got the time, and a straight on view is, I think, a lot simpler than this angle. I consider this angle the toughest angle for me, and so silly of me that one of the first projects that I was commissioned for, lo and behold, I pick an up angle because I thought it would work really well for a horror shot, and it stumped me for like damn near a whole year as to how to get the angles correctly, and I did not end up going with it by the end because I was so dissatisfied with my piece that I just didn't roll with what I had originally concepted out for doing the piece, and I just trashed that, threw it in the background, and then went with a different angle, completely different shot, a completely different thing, because I was just I didn't feel it. I wasn't feeling it, so I was like, nope, that ain't working. That's not what I want to be out there as my work. So I think as I'm going through this, I'm not doing a great job of explaining what the heck I am doing. But as I go through this, I'm thinking of all of the angles of things that I know I'm gonna have to catch later on. So if I were doing this from absolutely nothing, like if I were teaching this from absolutely nothing, I would not probably teach it like this. This is, I think, jumping up to like, I don't know, an intermediate level of understanding or something when it comes to heads. But this Asaro head is one of the keys to my progress. I gotta say, like, a lot of repetition, of memorizing this thing from as many angles as possible, and then, you know, you'll see me fudge some stuff and reinvent some stuff as I'm going through this. But a lot of memorization of doing this over and over again, and then checking my work like that. There we go. I just gotta say, I love charcoal like so much more than other mediums. It is so much better for what I want to do, at least. It's like I can make it act like so many different types of things, and still, you know, other than the archival factor, the lack of archival, meaning like you can't keep this stuff without spraying it because you're just gonna like smudge it. Other than that, I have no complaints with charcoal, especially this Carbothello charcoal. I gotta say, like, that's been super cool to use. So highly recommend getting some big paper and working with charcoal as much as possible, because it changed the way that I did my art when I switched from pencil and pen. I was doing a lot of ballpoint pen sketching because I was like, I can make this work with ballpoint pen, and then I just quickly came to realize, it's like, why should I reinvent the wheel if the great guys of the past did it this way? Like, okay, why don't I just try trudging down the same path for a little bit, and then I can always not do that later. But it's just such a versatile tool, charcoal. So I could just so quickly like just put values on this stuff, like a mid value, and then pull it out. You know, like, that's so handy. No pun intended. So handy. Yeah, what am I doing here? I'm laying out the proportion of the head. You're gonna see me like get as much of the likeness as I can of the head, and then I'm gonna fudge it, meaning I'm gonna smudge it. Like once I get the area where certain features are placed, then I'm gonna be like, oh, this doesn't fit that though, because I put this in, like I made this head bigger, okay, whatever. I can make it smaller if I want. I could shave that back, or I can just smudge everything afterwards and realize that it's always in a state of flux. Everything is always in a state of flux. Take the pressure off of yourself to do perfect work by realizing that this is probably one of 1 million versions of this that you're gonna do. And in the long run, it matters that you're doing it more than getting it right. Because doing it is getting it right, and not doing it is definitely not getting it right. Right? Dad jokes. So yeah, I'm just trying to get like the general proportion. I'm trying to get light, fairly gestural strokes. If I can't take the stroke out, I'll just smudge it into the background, and then I'll pull stuff to the foreground, or I'll reinforce the contour like this so that the eye basically gets lost in the mess that I made that mistake out there. Like it's like whatever compared to what's in the foreground, because the eye's drawn to more contrast instead of less contrast. There it is again, another little mistake, whatever, shave it off, whatever, okay. If I have an area that's like really being disruptive to me, like a nose, or I wanna just say, like we did over here, you know, I'm like, this isn't descriptive enough of a nose, this is a triangle. So let's say I wanna go into it, I'm gonna do it from memory right now, but from the side, but I'll do the nose, and notice I'm automatically going right into some rounder shapes because I have no round shapes in that triangle. So I'm kind of balancing it out, but I'll just pull off to the side like this, and this is right from Steve, so I take no credit for original ideas on this, but I'll just go off to the side and I'll just do the piece of the whole piece that's bothering me, that I can't get it right or get it to feel right to me, at least as I'm doing it. Maybe it does look okay, but like that does look like a nose, but that looks like a better nose to me, right? Doesn't that look like a better nose? Definitely more interesting to me, even if that nose is not correct to his nose. His nose seems to be more bulbous at the front. He's got a lot of that cartilage like right around here. So that would be, you know, getting some shadows around that. Making sure that this plane still reads as a plane. Probably what we want to do. But I digress. Let's go back to the head gestures. So this is not gesturing. This is pretty stagnant. This is gesturing, right? This is gesturing. Again, kind of stagnant because it's not, it's just already to the side. It doesn't feel like it's moving to the side. Like this could potentially have been someone that looks over at somebody else and has caught, put a little expression on it or something. They're like, well, what do you mean? You know, they're like looking over there, especially with that little mouth expression that I did on it, which is a happy accident to me because I didn't intend on doing that. I just wanted to get the lightness of a mouth. Look at me accidentally drawing a full iris thing on him or her. cartilage in there. Boom. Okay. So, go the down. I'll come back to this one because I'm not digging what I did there at all. There we go. Let's just make it crazy. There we go. Super dark side of the nose. Pull it back. Let's ride this on the side a little more precisely now. Let's change this face. How about one of those? Fine. And a lip too, right? So front, let's say this is got the other side of the nose under there. Let's just throw the other side under there and make it appear like I had a different perspective on it. The lip right here. The lip. Boom. Okay. Downward facing angle. Let's get loose and light with it. Just narrowing it down. Let's do a down one. Yep, talking and drawing, quite difficult. So let me go back to here, to this one. Made his face boxy, made that more androgynous of a face. Here, keeping the eyes vague because they're mostly in shadow and we're not super close. So mostly the stuff, the other defining features. And then we could start to put the eyes in the shadow, the parts of the eyes. Cool. Better than that one. I'm not a fan of what I did with that side profile at all. Instead of fixing it, do it again. Gesture, I know what I know because I already did it. Let's get the underbelly of the skull. There. There. Ooh, I get that kind of a different angle, like I almost was going behind it from there. Let's do that. Let's go from the back angle, shall we? Let's do that. Rarely do I do this angle. I should do it more. There we go. Didn't catch the back of that ear well enough either. And that's what this is for. Take a look at the reference and see where the errors in your memory are. I think drawing from memory is, you know, one of those first goals that we have. I remember being a kid and kids just being like, yeah, but you copied that. And it's like, like I didn't invent it like completely. But until you have like the entire skill set to design something, it's like, of course, it's like kind of learning how to fight based on anger instead of learning how to fight based on strategic setups. I have a lot of background in martial arts, so I talk around martial arts a decent amount. That's why I was using terminology for martial arts. We're making up terminology. Martial arts related stuff. Okay. Finally, let's get to the hard one. We've done all these other ones. Take that jaw. Let's just masculinize that jaw a little bit. Hit that cheek a little bit. Boom. All right. The hard one. Here we go. The one that we're here for. Deep breaths. So up angle, eye line, ears falling back, front, chin front, boom, boom, boom. Brow ridge, connect. Under the nose, under the lip, got that angle wrong. Under the underlip, top of the chin, separation of the digastric plane. To the ear. Let's see, how much cheek? That much. Hard line down. Right here. Right here. Falls back, falls back. That ear is protruding. Head's behind it. Really noticing how that skin is stretching. Boy, it's like, bam, it's like coming in. And you know, these secondary tones that are in here that are showing the bounce light and stuff. This is like really pinched. This is really pinched down here. That lined up here, yeah. And, you know, I should be, before I even do this is going to be a thing that I'll have to correct myself on later probably, but I should be lining up those lines, these lines, these lines, these lines, to find the alignment. Yeah, it's right there. Of course it is, right? You gotta find that alignment. Look at that change in shape right there. Like the chin is hard, and then you have all this like kind of darkness and everything here. You have the change in these folds. This angle is distinct from this. So if you're not constructing that in to start with, and then not thinking about how much, like these could be like really folding folds, you know, more than I made here on this. These folds could be, you know, like going like this, right? Pull some of that. And then, where's my smudgy stick? So what if we treat some of the skin under here like that, right? And then we pull, you know, the highlight out on the most protruding part of that fold. And now it should begin to appear to be more tubular. Tubular. Right? That's like boom, 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 boom. Is that right? What do you guys think? So, all this, back to the cheek. We got this. We know we got this plane, this mandibular plane. So I cut that angle, and now I'll carve it out again. Because like there's clear distinction, like shelving. Boom, 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 boom. And that's probably not only a more realistic ride after we start like cutting those corners a little bit more, but a more interesting ride than just simplifying it down to this for me, for what I'm trying to do with this piece. So, and then that rides right to the ear, which is, if I align this correctly, yeah, down there. So, down there. In there, over here, make sure that's hanging correctly. Let's get that outside just locked in a little bit. Boom, boom, boom. Brow ridge going across, and then diving back to the ear. Forehead lumping and bumping, and then eventually diving back there. Big lower lip. Big protruding nose. That nose falling back too. Boom, boom, boom. The whole eye, the eye within the socket, like the whole eye area, the eye within the socket, and then the underneathness being underneath the eyelid. Like shelving. The on top of the eyelid, the underneath of the eyelid. The orb of the eye. And then the lower lid coming up at it. So the lower lid is gonna be lower lidding. Right guys? Lower lidding. That's a real thing. I definitely didn't just make that up. Yeah. So, shadow underneath there too, but I'll pull because his lower lid is protruding a lot. It's making a lip, so I'll have to dig much more into this later. And all this is in shadow, so I'll just throw all that into shadow right there. And then even this is cast shadow from above. Boom. And then let's go back into the darkest areas. Reinforce the ideas. Okay. I made it very much pointing at us. Boy, that's pixelated. I need a better picture. Needs to be actually being the shape of a real iris at whatever angle that I didn't catch it perfectly at, and not flat. That'd be nice. We can take that detail and throw that back in there. Really like to get the darker parts of this cheek, the idea of this done. I know I'm jumping around. I want to get the idea of that, I guess also the pace, sure. The idea, the shape of that. Simplify it. Simplify it. Simplify it. Right? All right, so we threw this whole thing into shadow, but this part comes out. So this little part, the stuff that's going on in the jaw, how can I do it? How can I do it? The stuff that's going on. There we go. The jaw, the teeth, the mouth, the stuff here, the stuff that's like covering here. So this stuff, it's coming at us because it's got dimension. So we gotta throw that dimension on there so it looks round, or, you know, shape that it is, right? We gotta protrude, we gotta throw that cheek, we gotta create the shadow, this. And then we know the teeth come around, right? So this is gonna wrap, and he's got his mustache in the way, but you know, this is expressing everything in this area, right? This fold, right? All that big, I need to big cheek on. There we go. Something. All right. Little brow ridge expression. All right, let's just go back to this. like all that. This is all coming out. That head is wrapping around, and then that protrudes, and the top of this stuff's protruding. And this still sneaks back. This is going back further now. Reposition. Dope. Lay a pattern over it, then destroy the pattern, right? Lay a pattern over it. Destroy the pattern. Pull up the highlight. Pull out that highlight. Boom. Boom. Right. So this is cool. It's the underneath, so like again, it's doing this sort of thing, right? It's doing that sort of thing. You can treat this like that. Wow, that's cool. So another thing that's happening too here is this. Cheek. That cheek is like, there's like a draping. Wow, and a little highlight in there that separates the two. So. All right. So now abstract shape designs, little abstract shape designs, because I've been saying much this whole video. Based on the first video, you guys think I would talk it all the time, but hard to talk and think designs at the same time. So all these lines are pointing, right? Like lines, they can stop or direct us. So we got like this rhythm, not much pattern, more rhythm, right? Because pattern would repeat exactly the same, but a ton of rhythm in here where there's like all of these flowing, windy, you know, Steve would say watery gestures. I like the idea of throw. So I don't know, my go-to in my mind is throwing lines. So I think wind, air, throw. I don't know. That's my line of thought at least. But anyway, whatever works for you. It has these cool flows that are happening that are based in the shadow shapes, right? So we're going in here. I wanted to know where this cheek was, and I really want to do a much better job of shaping it, because if I actually catch the shape correctly, I could just invent it if I don't see it, because you know, not every reference picture is perfect. but basically like I want it to read like it's lit properly. And so for it not to automatically read like I lit this thing wrong, I gotta get the position of certain bony protrusions right. Bam, and now I can get darker and darker and darker with this stuff now. Especially this side, like I should just hang on this. Let's see if this proportion is correct. Is that right? I don't know. Just step back for me to see it. I think that's more correct. I think I should bring that out. Because it's like way out there. That's like thick back there. Probably much easier to see my mistakes as I'm doing this, huh? You have a full view. Hopefully it inspires you to draw too. There we go. There we go. And there we go. Okay, so does this read? Kind of. So, not done yet as far as I'm concerned, so the stuff in between that's like not in here, right? So we're gonna lay some of that stuff out. Probably pull some of this back and maybe a little more dainty with it. And be a little more intentional with this now. So I intend on showing the top. I want to intend on this being even brighter of a top. Now I can dust that back. Now he's got an eyelid on that side. Blink and look back, and suddenly the illusion is there. Boom. Dark, dark into darker. Into darkest, darkest, into light, yeah, screwed up the size of this, but it's okay, as long as it reads like a neck. Just make the correction in the other direction. That's a good one, make the correction in the other direction. Outside on that side looking good. Outside on this side looking good. This feeling okay. Just trying to complete the line, complete the thought. Down into the depths of the ear and back again. And eardrum's tail. Around the ear now. Here, around the ear, to the back, out. Back, boom. Digging, digging, digging in hard. Lightning bolt. I think one of the most interesting things when you draw too is you can observe like your mind when you're drawing, and you might find like it's kind of like a dream-like state where like stuff is just like, it's so meditative, right? That it's like stuff is just playing out in your head, like, oh, I forgot I was supposed to remember this. You know, I think it's probably the aspect of what it does to the nervous system. Some of us can only be calm if we're making stuff, I think. Yeah. Not bad. Not terrible. Not the worst I've done. Not yet perfect. So this, for me to get this more intricate and not just looking like a rambling mess in here, what I need to do at this point is either abstractify and just make it kind of do whatever that feels right without knowing exactly what's going on in there, because I'm having trouble feeling it, seeing it, whatever, however you want to phrase it. I'm having trouble feeling this right here. So I can abstractify it and just be like, all right, as long as this gesture is thrown in this direction, this gesture is thrown, as long as this thing is opening up towards, this bloom is happening towards the ear, it looks like it was intentionally designed that way. I don't know if you could see what I'm saying with that, or if it's just in my crazy mind that I could see that. But like for example, this looks like stair stepping to me right here, like stairs, like ancient stairs. Boom, like that. So I'm trying to figure out what that is actually like. It's obviously tufts of hair and things, so like, but I don't know exactly what's going on over there. So I gotta make it up with decent abstractions that look like I know what it was. It is meant to be there. Meant to be there. Falling back in space, right? Big gestural stroke for that. Coming down like a cloud. Boom. Coming down like a J. Boom. Very predatory, it seems, with that little beady eye in there. Let's soften it a little bit. Still fairly predatory. Especially with the very serious brow ridge. Serious, the scowl. Scowling. Sounds like a horror movie. The Scowling. He murdered people by looking at them. The Scowler. I don't mean this guy. Well, maybe it's this guy, who knows. His scowl was so powerful. I diminished some of his mustache though. I really gotta enhance this, I feel. And this one, this hides back around. It's got a lot of... All right, well, here's what we got done today. I don't know where I got cut off, but for some reason, I did get cut off. Looking better from further away than up close. That means I've gotta spend some time designing the stuff from up close. Here's the reference. Here's mine. Yeah, let's see them next to each other. Hard to multitask this, but there we go. So, right there. I can see that I want to move some of the features around now that it's literally right next to each other. And obviously I went off the page with this, but I want to tilt him. I want to tilt his head back further. I want to make a little further leaning back protrude the chin out more to feel that lean back. I can turn them a little bit more like this. And I can ride that like way better right there. So that's what I'm seeing right now. This is the bottom part, little warm-ups. That's what we got for today. Yeah, part 2 of this. I know it wasn't as descriptive as last time. I'm gonna get better at doing this stuff, I guess, the more that I do it. So give me feedback, guys. Like it, hate it, tell me what I'm doing wrong. I'm cool with it. I know it's not perfect. Just vlogging. All right, guys, catch you soon.